In October 1944, the U.S. Navy was engaged in the massive Battle of Leyte Gulf. The Japanese Imperial Navy devised a desperate, complex plan to lure the main American carrier fleet away from the Philippines, leaving the invasion force at Leyte Island defenseless.
The plan worked. The main American fleet sailed north, chasing a decoy force. This left only Taffy 3, a small task unit commanded by Rear Admiral Clifton Ziggy Sprague, guarding the entrance to the Gulf. Taffy 3 consisted of 6 jeep carriers, slow, unarmored escort carriers, 3 destroyers, and 4 destroyer escorts.
The ambush, morning of October 25th. At 06:45, the horizon erupted. Admiral Takeo Kurida's center force, the most powerful fleet the Japanese had ever fielded, burst through a rain squall. It was led by the Yamato, the largest battleship in history, accompanied by 3 other battleships, 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 11 destroyers. The disparity was absolute. Japanese firepower, 18-inch, 14-inch, and 8-inch guns. American firepower, 5-inch guns, the size used on small patrol boats, and thin, unarmored hulls. The impossible decision? As the Japanese shells began splashing around the escort carriers, Admiral Sprague faced a mathematical certainty. His fleet would be annihilated within minutes. He ordered his small force to turn toward the enemy and engage. He ordered his destroyers to launch a torpedo attack, and he ordered his escort carriers to launch their planes, even if those planes were not fully armed. The charge of the tin can sailors. The performance of the U.S. destroyers Johnston, Hoel, and Heermann is considered the most heroic display of naval surface combat in history. The USS Johnston, commanded by Commander Ernest E. Evans, the Johnston broke formation and charged alone into the heart of the Japanese fleet. It engaged a heavy cruiser, then raced toward the battleship line, firing all 200 of its shells and launching its full complement of torpedoes. It was so close that the Japanese ships could not depress their main guns low enough to hit it. The dry runs. With no bombs or torpedoes left, American pilots returned to the fray anyway. They made dry runs, diving their planes directly at the Japanese bridges and decks, firing machine guns and forcing the Japanese commanders to take evasive maneuvers, breaking their formation and ruining their aim. The psychological collapse. The sheer audacity of the American attack backfired on the Japanese. Admiral Kurita had been told he would be facing light resistance. Instead, he was met with a ferocious, suicidal assault that suggested the Americans were being protected by a much larger force waiting just over the horizon. Believing he had walked into a trap, Kurita became indecisive. He ordered his ships to stop attacking and regroup. This delay cost him the momentum. Fearing he was about to be hit by the main American carrier fleet, Kurita ordered a full retreat. He had the power to sink the entire American landing force at Leyte, but he turned back.
The aftermath, the price of valor. Taffy 3 was devastated, but they held the line. The USS Johnston eventually succumbed to overwhelming fire, sinking with 186 of its crew. The escort carriers Gambier Bay and St. Lo were lost, along with the destroyers Hoel and Heermann. The latter was damaged but survived. Yet they achieved the impossible. They had stopped the Japanese center force dead in its tracks.
The aftermath, the price of valor. Taffy 3 was devastated, but they held the line. The USS Johnston eventually succumbed to overwhelming fire, sinking with 186 of its crew. The escort carriers Gambier Bay and St. Lo were lost, along with the destroyers Hoel and Heermann. The latter was damaged but survived. Yet, they achieved the impossible. They had stopped the Japanese center force dead in its tracks. Why it remains the greatest stand?
The battle off Samar is the ultimate example of the force multiplier of audacity. Technological mismatch? It is the only battle in history where light escort ships successfully defeated a main battleship fleet. The never say die spirit. The American sailors fought until their ammunition was gone, their ships were sinking, and their guns were disabled. The result? Had Kurita pushed forward, he would have decimated the U.S. landing craft at Leyte, potentially prolonging the war by years and costing tens of thousands of American lives. As Admiral Sprague later wrote in his official report, the failure of the enemy to achieve a decisive success is directly attributable to his ignorance of our strength and the effectiveness of our aggressive tactics. Samar stands as the monument to the fact that when a commander refuses to accept defeat, even a David can force a Goliath to flee in